I got rejected for everything that I applied for at every university. But I'm like, no, man, I meet the minimum requirements. So of course they'll filter because of space and who did the best, whatever. But I remember my mom saying, no, man, these marks aren't bad. There's no way you're going to sit at home when you have decent marks. So then I cried about it, prayed about it, and I said, you know what, no, I'm going to UCT. You know, we've seen people who have 9 distinctions applying for medicine and they don't get in. Don't let it hurt you too much. I think don't make your academics your personality. I feel like your university experience is largely shaped by who you are firstly when you arrive there, and how firm you are in the person that you are. That's number one. I think number 2 is the people that you meet when you're there, especially in your first year.
You are watching the Edu-Knowledge Exchange Podcast show, the place where we share, learn and engage with students, graduates and experts on their academic journeys. From personal challenges to inspiring success stories, we uncover the real experiences behind university and college life. Have you ever wondered what truly goes on in the minds of students and graduates? The struggles, the breakthroughs, the game-changing tips that can transform your academic journey? We bring you raw experiences, expert advice, and unfiltered conversations to help you navigate university life like a pro. Hit that subscribe button and let's dive into the ultimate knowledge exchange.
Hi, Unjan.
Yeah, Pilunjan.
I'm good, thank you. Thank you again for honoring the invite to come join us today. So, tell us about yourself. How did you grow up and all of that?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. I think how I grew up. So, okay, I was born in Durban. Grew up in a single mother household with my older brother. And yeah, I did quite a lot of moving in the earlier years of my life. But I think settled mostly in Joburg in 2013.
Okay.
So most of my childhood I was in Joburg, even then moving around a bit. Some time in the suburbs. So yeah, I think growing up I've just experienced a lot of different environments, which I think played a huge role in the person I am today, able to adapt to different spaces, I think. And yeah, I don't know, what more is there to say?
Okay, so high school wise.
High school, yeah, so as I said, I did quite a bit of moving. So when it came to high school, I think I only went to 2 different high schools. So in the first 2 years, I was still in a township school, Cosmo. And then I moved to a new school from grade 10. Moved to Kiro Aurora. Yeah, that's where I finished my high school years.
Okay, so you're in UCT, right? And what are you doing there?
I'm studying a Bcom in economics and statistics.
Okay. Yeah,
Final year. Yeah, I'm doing the student degree program, so it's my 4th year.
Tell me about your degree. What do you do?
Oh, okay. Okay, so on the economics side, so really the degree is, I do 3rd year economics, 3rd year statistics, and then do a little bit of finance. So on the economic side, it's really just, macroeconomics, econometrics, international trade and finance.
Yeah, I wish you were speaking English, but okay.
Okay, now, so, I mean, economics is really just, by definition at least, or one of the definitions, the study of how people use limited resources to fulfill their unlimited needs and wants. So theoretically, that's what we do.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think we basically just look at a whole lot of different imaginary scenarios and try understand how you'd get to certain ideal outcomes in society, whether it's improving welfare when it comes to, income inequality, or whatever other social issues there are that affect the economy. So I think more when it comes to microeconomics, we do a lot of that, and then when it comes to macroeconomics, we do a lot of trying to understand how sort of money markets work, how interest rates relate with employment, and also like all those moving parts. So just understanding how macroeconomic variables interact with one another.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not the most interesting parts of what I do. It's I just do it when I was saying con.
So is that what you always wanted to do?
No.
What did you want to do?
I think what I wanted to do changed quite a bit over the years.
Okay.
As a child, I always wanted to be a lawyer, right?
Oh, okay.
I always wanted to be a lawyer until I realized that I actually hate reading. So unfortunately, I saw good to know that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And then when I was in grade 6, back then I was still good at maths, as good as one can be in grade 6.
Okay.
But yeah, in grade 6 I was still good at maths, and I remember my maths teacher telling me that I should look into actuarial science.
Oh.
So from then I looked into actuarial science and I thought this is interesting. So from then until when I matriculated, I thought I wanted to be an actuary. But me being me, I didn't get into actuarial science, and I think in first year I was doing analytics, which is basically stats and data science. So yeah, I did that in first year with hopes to move into actuarial science in second year. Did terribly in my first year. So yeah, I didn't always want to be doing economics and statistics, but I think I'm more interested in the stats side of things anyway. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm assuming you don't want to be an actuarian anymore? Is it
An actuary?
Yes, an actuary.
I wouldn't say I don't want to be an actuary. I still do want to be an actuary. I plan on writing board exams independently, but I'm not too fixated on it anymore. I used to be quite fixated on it and thought I really just want to be an actuary, nothing else. If I'm not an actuary, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life?
Oh, okay. So is there any other route that you can take now since you're doing Bcom? Is there any other route you can take to finally do what you want to do, or wanted rather?
To becoming an actuary?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can write board exams.
Independently.
Yeah, you can always write the board exams. So hey, I don't want to say this prematurely, but I might write one of the board exams soon, one of the first ones.
How many are they?
It's like 13 to 15 exams.
And then you have to write those over how long?
You can take your whole lifetime. It's okay, man. As long as you finish and you finish.
Okay.
But when you do a degree in actuarial science, you get exempted from the first few exams.
Oh.
Depending on how well you do in each course or module, I think you guys will call it. So depending on how well you do in each course, you might get exempted from a specific exam. So that applies mostly for the actuarial science students because they do the specific, exam-related courses.
So you get exempted from a few. How many is a few?
It depends on the university and depends on how many you did well in. So some universities, I think at bachelor's level you could get exempted from about five or six.
So
I'm actually not too
13
sure.
or 14.
I'm actually not too sure. I'm not too sure. But I think at UCT, by honors level, you would have been exempted for all but 3 or 4. So yeah, that's maybe closer to like 10 exams. I'm not too sure of the exact number. Yeah.
Okay.
But you get exempted from quite a few of them.
Okay, so I heard that you're also in leadership as well. So what do you do there?
So on campus, I'm part of the UCT SRC.
Okay.
The Societies and Day Houses Coordinator of the UCT SRC. Largely, that's just overseeing all the societies in the university and ensuring that they are represented in whatever needs they have, whatever issues they're facing as, structures within the university.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then at the day houses side, just representing day students and trying to create an environment where they feel comfortable during the day on campus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, how are you juggling school, all these leadership things that you do, and all of that?
To be quite honest, there's a reason why there's a stereotype that SRC members don't graduate. And I've come to understand why.
Okay.
It's very tough juggling it. But of course, it depends on the individual. Some people are more involved than others. So some would focus more on their degrees and then leave SRC work to the sides. But that means that someone else has to pick up what they're not doing. So it depends on how much you want to burden yourself. But yeah, it does get hard to juggle. Realistically though, because I've been in leadership positions before, and I think I've just developed a pattern of I attend to school when there's a fire to put out.
Oh.
So largely I just start looking at books when there's like 4 days to a test. Or it's a terrible pattern, but it's just how I ended up doing things.
So is UCT the university you've always wanted to be in?
Yes, actually. I've always wanted to be at UCT, I think from when I started high school.
Okay.
I remember I think it was in my matric year when there was that fire on the mountain. And I remember being in an Afrikaans class. At the time, I was still doing Afrikaans. I was in an Afrikaans class watching videos of this university of mine burning. I'm like, Lord, it can't burn before I go there. Like, it cannot happen. Like, why is my university burning? Where am I gonna go? So I always wanted to go to UCT. I remember at the time I even had it as my wallpaper on my laptop.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, this is the
Talk
dream.
about obsession.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I'm assuming there's no any other university. Like if you had a choice and a plethora, they say Thuthuka, pick any university you want to pick. Which one would you pick besides UCT?
Within the country?
Yeah.
Wits.
Okay.
I'd have gone to Wits, yeah.
Okay.
It makes sense. I stay in Joburg. It just made sense.
Okay.
Actually, my mom wanted me to go to Wits, and the deal that she made me was that if I go to Wits, because she won't have to pay for accommodation, she'd buy me a car.
So you didn't take a car?
It's not that I didn't take the offer. Wits didn't take me.
Oh.
So I didn't have an option. But to be fair, even UCT didn't take me. Actually, the story of how I got to UCT was also one of...
Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, no, I think so. When in matric, I did okay. Like I've never been a top student like that.
Okay,
like,
so you've always been average.
Yeah.
Also, another stereotype that you have to be top of the class all the time to make it to UCT. How true is that?
It's quite true. A lot of people there were top in their schools, eh?
Okay, and then since you're average, how did you get in then?
Look, I think there's a whole lot of people who are top,
Uh-huh.
and then there's us who we were fine.
Just
sure.
there.
We don't know how we got in, but we are there as well.
Okay.
And then,
Okay.
but I mean, when you're there, it's hard to tell who was in which category. So how I got into UCT, I remember I got my matric results. I did okay, but it didn't reach the marks that I wanted, or that I needed actually. And me being stubborn, I thought in my head, there's no way I won't do well in maths. Like, I'm comfortable with maths. And when I say well, I don't mean like 80s, 90s. I've never been that guy. I'm not an overachiever. I just wanted 70, so I meet the requirements for the stuff I applied for. But because I didn't think of the possibility of not getting that 70, I didn't apply for anything that didn't need maths.
Ooh.
Come matric results, I got 69 for maths. We regret to inform you. Yeah. So that was a tough period. Like I was like, I got rejected for everything that I applied for at every university. But I'm like, no, man. I meet the minimum requirements. So of course they'll filter because of space and who did the best or whatever. But I remember my mom saying, no, man, these marks aren't bad. There's no way you're gonna sit at home when you have decent marks. So then I cried about it, prayed about it, and I said, you know what? No, I'm going to UCT. I sent emails to the admissions office, sent emails to the commerce faculty. I called admissions office. I just kept pestering them until about a week later, they gave me an offer. And then, that's how I got to UCT.
Okay, that's different. I thought you were going to tell me that, I got 5 distinctions in this and that. You know?
My only distinction was Zulu first additional language. That's
the only distinction you had in matric?
Only distinction, yeah.
Wow.
When I tell you, Guti, I'm part of the few.
You're part of the few. That makes so much sense. Okay. So back to your leadership positions.
Sure.
You said you in SRC, right?
Sure.
And it's quite a lot of work juggling all of that and school and all of that.
Yeah.
Are you passing well?
I'm passing. I mean, final year, So
Okay.
So we're getting somewhere, but
You're doing something
as for
right.
passing well, no. I'm not passing well. I'm not passing well at all. I think I'm doing just fine, like I'm just okay.
So if there was something that you have wanted to be told before you came here, before you went to UCT, something that you wish somebody told you now, what would it be?
Hey, to be honest, I think we've been given a lot of advice when we were in high school about varsity. How much advice have you received but just not used when you got to varsity?
A lot of it.
For me, I don't think there's anything I wish I would have been told, because I don't think I would have listened anyway. Because I didn't even take the advice I was told. So I don't. I don't see the point in wishing that I received more advice. I think perhaps I just wish I had a better circle of people around me. But yeah, as for advice, I feel like your university experience is largely shaped by who you are firstly when you arrive there, and how firm you are in the person that you are. That's number one. But I think number two is the people that you meet when you're there, especially in your first year. That really, really shapes, I think, how your university journey is going to look like. So I don't think a lot of advice would have helped for me specifically.
Makes sense. So let's talk about circle.
Sure.
You mentioned that there are people that you wished you were surrounded by different people, better people. Why do you say that?
My race was too nice, man. My race was too nice. Yeah,
Okay.
it was too nice there. And I think, remember also, so in my first year, we were still coming out of COVID. So I think the first semester, a lot of things were taught online. So you wake up in the morning, you go to breakfast, you come back, you must attend a class online. You hear how much they're talking in the corridor.
Okay.
I'll see this thing later, man. Chill in the corridor, chiggy, it's lunchtime. Fair, the chance, let's go to campus and buy Gatsby's. Let's go. And that's the life I was living in first year. So it's something I appreciate. It was a great experience, but of course, there wasn't much wisdom in living that kind of life. So I think I think just the pressures around me, let me not say pressures, but the influences around me. If I had people who are just course chowers around me, and I wouldn't have had that platform to, be chilling all day.
Yeah.
But of course, that's why I say it also depends on how firm you are when you come in. Because I'm not a course chower. I've never been that person. So of course, coming into varsity, if I meet people who are like me, I'm gonna click with them. So I needed to have boring people around me. That was gonna force me to study. Because what else am I gonna do? But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a discipline thing. But yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. So it's your first year. Did you know anyone here? Like going to UCT, new environment, new people, new friends?
I don't think I knew.
Tell me about that.
I don't think I really knew many people here. I knew there were people from my school who had come here, but it's not people I was close to.
So you couldn't reach out to them?
I mean, I could have, but I didn't.
Okay.
But there were some people even from my year who came here, but even then, for me, I like spending time with whoever's around me.
Okay.
So I'm not going to go out of my way and be like, hey, I know you from high school, so we're going to be friends now. So I'm like, no, it's really not that deep.
So settling in, how do you find that? Settling in, you're a new person from Joburg.
Yeah, no, I found it quite easy, to be honest. I think so, because I arrived quite late. So I arrived in the it was the end of the first week of O week, I think. Yeah, towards the end of the first week of O week, I came to Cape Town.
What's O week?
Orientation week.
Okay.
So orientation week is 2 weeks before the first semester starts, where it's just fun and games. Basically. So I arrived, I think, on the Thursday of the first week of O week. And I think that night, my res had a movie night with one of the neighboring reses. So I came through. That's my first experience of res. I come through, boom, day one, there's a movie night. So like, okay, cool. So that was fun. Got to chill with people, socialize a bit. I was like, okay, that's nice. Second day, the guys are like, fine, let's go to kind regards. So
Kind regards.
all the UCT people know kind regards is my mom's watching now. No, man, it was first year. I'm a changed man. So kind regards is it's a club in law ops.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a club in ops. That used to be very popular for students back then. So my second day at res, all the people that I know that I'm speaking to, because I came in as quite a loudmouth, so I didn't really struggle to connect to the people at res. And the guys are friendly. We're in a very small res. My res is the smallest res at UCT, so it's quite a tight-knit family.
Okay.
So it was very easy to connect with people there, and I think them just being so outgoing, it was very easy for us to come together because we're doing things together. It's not like we're just sitting and talking all day. So yeah, I think for those reasons, it was very easy to adapt and get used to the environment.
So you did not find it hard at all? Because I hear stories that, when I came here, it was rough, this happened, so you don't have the type of story.
Nah, it was, I had more fun than I should have in first year.
Oh,
yeah, like
that's different.
My first semester in Cape Town, I was chilling. I was like, really, if my transcript says it, my transcript says that you are chilling. So, because really, I think that's where I developed this behavior of everything goes 3-4 days before a test, quickly catch up everything that you need to know, go right, come back, relax. So that's just a pattern that I've developed from first year, and has been hard to break ever since. So yeah, I didn't really have issues acclimatizing to UCT.
Okay. So with your behavior in first year, as you said that your transcript says it, ne? So how did you navigate all that, being the groove person, being a fun person, straight to student politics? How did you even think of being in the SRC? Sorry.
Okay, I wasn't a groove person.
Oh, okay.
I just went wherever my friends went, and I was still very new.
Oh.
Okay, so my friends went to kind regards. I just went with them. I was like, "What is this kind regards?" So I went and I found out, and I said, "Oh."
Okay.
And I think that was the end of my groove life. It was, yeah. But I think more seriously, asking about how I got into SRC. In my first year, towards the end of the year, I think there were house comm elections for my res, and they didn't have enough people applying. So I think our house comm was available for 6 people, and there were 5 applicants. And because I've always been a bit of a social person in my res, at least, people are like, no, Thuthuka, and the position that was open was entertainment rep.
Oh.
People are like, Thuthuka, no, be entertainment rep, like apply. But we've always had that thing at res that, no, we leave house comm to say, hey, now I'm keep taking out res secrets. But we've always left out SRC for second years, so that they stay in the res when they go to third year. Because our res is a first year res, so you largely stay there if you're first year or second year. So if you want to find second years to stay, we get them into house comm, then they can stay in the third year. So we're like, no, man, one second year must apply. Like, that's just how the res was. But then there weren't people applying, so they're like, okay, they gave me the position. And then I found myself in house comm at the end of my first year. Then being in house comm, started engaging in student governance. And that's how I entered student governance and being an entertainment rep. Yeah, I think then I didn't really have an interest in SRC per se at the time. I started seeing and being more aware of SRC and what's happening in student governance, but didn't really have much of an interest to participate. The end of the second year, so I was entertainment rep in my second year. End of the year, I was like, I don't want to be in any leadership structures in res, right? I just wanted to be part of the faculty council, so I was part of the Common Students Council.
That was last year?
That was last year.
Okay.
So I was the vice chairperson of the Common Students Council last year. And then at the beginning of the year, the head students of my res didn't come back for personal reasons. And so we didn't have a head student at res. And the sub-wardens had signed me into a very small room, right? But so in my res, we have rooms that are dedicated to specific house comm members, depending on your portfolio. And the room that I was in was a small room, and my arrogance was just like, as a former house leader, I can't be staying in a matchbox. So I said, I'll take on being head student if it means I'll get a better room. And so the house voted me in as head student at the beginning of the year, which I really had no desire for, but for the sake of the room, I did it. So last year I was vice chair of the Common Students Council and head students at my res. And I think with those 2 experiences, I really saw I got closer to seeing what's happening at SRC level. So I saw, good to know, man, Yeah, so these people, we put them on a pedestal, Mara. We are just fun. Because even now as an SRC member, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but actually no. If I say I probably shouldn't be saying it, I won't say it. But, you really realize, there's no difference between these people and I,
Oh, okay.
And so I said, why shouldn't I volunteer myself? I think I saw in the spaces that I was in that there was room for leadership, and the portfolio that I'm in now is a portfolio that hasn't been given much attention in the past. So, over the years, from first year, I've also been in the leadership of one of the student societies, Grace Bible Church at UCT.
Oh, okay.
So at the end of my first year, I got voted into being an organizer of the committee. Then
Still at Grace Bible Church?
Grace Bible Church,
okay.
UCT. Then the end of my second year, I became chairperson. And so even in that time, so I actually had 3 positions last year. So I was chairperson of Grace Bible Church, UCT as well. And I think that's where I saw that there's really a lack in support for societies on the SRC side, which is what made me want this portfolio in the first place. So I saw that there's a bit of a vacuum. Everyone just wants the executive portfolios. We all want to be SRC presidents, SRC SG, TG, but no one really cares about the work that's done in societies, for example. So I said, let me volunteer myself. I know the space, I know the issues we face. I'm quite experienced in student governance at that point. So I said, no, let me volunteer myself. And so that's how my journey in student governance went and how I
So
found
that's
myself
how
in
you
SRC.
decided to get into SRC.
Yeah.
So that's a very long CV. You've done so much. So as an SRC member, do you have any benefits? Do you get any benefits?
Professor Musa Mushabela,
Okay.
we do not have any benefits for being in SRC.
Okay.
I pray, Prof, that we can have a discussion about this. My term is almost over.
Okay.
But for future SRCs, man, it's sad. It's sad to say that we don't have benefits.
So you are just another student with SRC name behind
You're a
them.
student with responsibilities and an office for you to, use for consultations. Like, that's basically...
So you just have an office, that's
we just
all.
have offices, Shem,
So
for us to do SRC work.
So res anything,
We
maybe
still
res
pay
benefits.
full price for res. We pay full price for
fees,
tuition.
everything.
There's no benefits. There's none whatsoever.
That's just sad, man. That's just
Yeah.
sad. So doing so much work and only getting an office.
I mean, we get stipends, but
Okay.
nakona it's not a
Ushint.
considerable amount. Shem. But we appreciate, Shem, because we're thankful to the Department of Student Affairs for the stipends, but
they could do better.
they could do better, man.
Okay.
They could do better.
Okay.
I think tutoring sometimes pays even more than being an SRC member. It's concerning.
So if you had all the power in the SRC to do a huge change, what would it be?
If I had all the power to do a huge change in the SRC,
Yeah.
what change would I do? I think it would have been easier to answer that question before I got into the structure.
Okay.
Now, what change would I want to do? I think there's a lot of issues to be addressed, but because UCT is so committee-based, if there's a lot of changes we might want to bring, but student voices sometimes aren't strong enough, even through SRC and our deployments and committees. Because I'll make an example. The University Finance Committee only has about 3 students. Right?
3?
Yeah, there's about 3 students in the Finance Committee. So even if we as students all disagree on increasing fees, it can happen with or without us. Ours is to express our frustrations. Ours is to, vote against it when it comes to voting. But how much voting power do we really have? So it becomes very hard because in all the things that we want to work on, you have to convince staff members who are part of all these committees to agree with you.
Okay.
So, there's a lot of things I want to change. I mean, first of all, tuition increasing every year, raise increasing every year. I think there's a considerable difference between our raise prices and UWC raise prices, CPUT raise prices, and I don't think it's justified. There's really no... Neighboring residences have... I know Rochester House, and I don't know the name of the CPUT raise right next door. The gates are literally next to each other like this. At Rochester, they pay 90,000.
Yeah.
And then at CPT, I believe they pay about 30-something thousand.
Oh, that's a considerable amount.
So, and you ask UCT why, they'll say, no, it's because there's a shuttle that fetches you. We're including that in the cost. You have Wi-Fi. We're including that in the cost. A whole lot of other stories. CPS. So, but we all know that's
so
really,
you'll change the price increasing every year. What else?
Yeah, so those are just some of the things. I mean, another thing is quality control in dining halls. Food quality has been concerning. Something that's been happening for years, but there hasn't really been too much attention to it. I think this year there's been a bit more of a focus on trying to address that. In my area specifically that I'm working on now in societies, largely what I'm working on is ensuring that there's a bit more structure and order with societies. We've heard of self-elections and self-appointments. We have societies that still exist in our system but haven't had any people in it for the past 5 years. And you say, how can the admin be so bad that a society has been dormant for 5 years, but people are still able to sign up for it? So that's the stuff that I'm currently working on. And unfortunately, it takes away from being able to do the more fun things that we want to do.
Yeah, the real things.
Because now we have to first clean up the mess that we find. But yeah, I think that's quite a lot of things, man. But I think because right now my head is more focused on the things that I'm involved in, it's hard for me to think about all the other issues that I would like to work with. But I think those are the most pressing ones. I think the fees issues, the risk issues, and then because that's what I'm in now, I realize more of the society issues. And also just getting students involved, man. Students, there's a culture at UCT where students just focus on academics.
Yeah.
I think you can tell already, Guti, I'm not a big fan of that culture. I think
it's understandable.
I'm not a big fan of that culture. People must be part of societies, People must join societies. It's how you make friends, get to enjoy Cape Town. Some people have been here for 2 years, have never been to the beach. Some people have been here for 2 years and have 2 friends who both speak the same language. Guys, we have an international community at UCT, but you don't have a friend from another country. These are all basic things that we shouldn't be trying to encourage people to get involved.
Yeah, because it's obvious.
Yeah, so it's a huge culture thing. I think when it comes to one thing that I really want to change, it's the culture of the UCT student, which is a very difficult thing to work on. It's more of a social task because but that's one thing that I also really want to change.
So every year, UCT on the news, fee block, all of that. What do you want to tell us about all that thing? What's going on? Like, this thing has been happening every year without fail. Yeah, now that you're in the SRC and you're literally behind the people who are overseeing everything, Yeah. Since you're in SRC, how is it different now than in other years?
Look, the fee block issue has been an issue long before I came.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it's going to be an issue long after I'm gone. So I'll address it on 2 fronts. On one front, on more of a university's apologetic side.
Okay.
Government is not doing enough to fund universities. That's one lens to look at it, or you can complain about universities not really allocating funds in a manner that best suits students. And they focus, UCT particularly, has a lot of focus on research. So there isn't enough allocation towards covering costs for students so that our fees reduce. But I think also we're in public institutions. Government does have a responsibility. I think one thing that I really like about one of our neighboring countries, Namibia, their president was elected earlier this year, and she's already assured the country 2026 no one's paying university tuition fees. It's something that was decided in a few months.
Yeah.
In South Africa, I don't know how many things I've seen. There've been motions and motions to spend how many billions on a whole lot of things that I think matter a lot less than our investment in education. If I stand to be corrected, but I believe 10 billion rand would cover all historical debts in every university in the country. So no students would have a fee block if government would say, okay, now it's 10 billion. We start from
does
scratch.
The government have the 10 billion?
You must look at what government spends on. They have the 10 billion, Shem.
Okay.
They have, I forgot what it was that I saw recently, a few weeks ago. Where government, I think the planning was spending 100 billion on something. And I said, can't you spend 90 billion on that and then give 10 billion to students?
Okay.
I just forgot what it was, Shem. I want to point it by its name, but the government does have the money. It really does.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the one front of fee blocks. The other front is we as students, we are not government. And what we want is to be educated.
So as much as you SRC, your education comes first. You're a student first before an SRC member.
I told you, I'm a student when I have a test. In February, there were no tests. There were no assignments. So I was an SRC member.
Okay.
So ours then is to advocate for the students and say, look, we understand your complaints that you don't have money. But you have a mandate, which is to teach, right? We are here to learn. You can't now say, because you're poor, you don't deserve education. How are you different from an apartheid government? If you say, because you don't have money, you can't be educated, it's not something we're going to accept. And so our stance as an SRC was that if one person can't come to UCT because they are too poor to be at UCT, then let's all shut down the university, no one's going to study. Because why must we be perpetuators of discrimination?
Yeah, that's
because you're allowing people who, you're allowing people who drive to campus in G-Wagons to continue learning. And then us who take taxis from Khayelitsha or came all the way from Thohoyandou to stay in a very expensive res, to now say, you spent 2 years at UCT, you've already, NSFAS has paid I don't know how much in thousands. Then UCT will just say, no, but you're not going to get a degree. I think we've had enough.
You're very
the
poor.
NSFAS accommodation cap. You owe us now, so we don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it's so unreasonable, I'll make an example of the NSFAS issue. They pay, UCT fees easily get to about 220,000 per year.
Per person?
Per person, right?
Oh.
So if you stay in a catered res, you spend about 80,000, 90,000 for your res. Then the food would be at about another 30 to 40,000. So that's about 120, 130. And then your tuition is another 100,000 or so. So in a year, you easily get to about 220,000.
220,000.
So
and NSFAS has a cap as well. They
have a cap on the accommodation. So already every year you're gonna owe 50,000. Yeah, and you must also consider who's on NSFAS, where they're gonna get that 50,000.
And I'm assuming that over half of the students are on NSFAS in UCT.
No. You must remember the history of UCT.
Oh, okay.
It's still new for us to be so many black people there. So it's not even. I think NSFAS students are about. There's about 8,000, if I remember correctly.
8,000.
There's about 8,000
Out of how many?
That's 29,000, 30,000. I think we're about 29,000 total at UCT. About 8,000 are NSFAS.
So they're still minority.
No, but that's NSFAS students. The other black students. So,
No.
And mustn't forget the middle, what you call the missing middle.
Yes.
Who are actually in greater debt than NSFAS students. Because missing middle means that NSFAS won't fund me.
Yeah, you're rich for NSFAS,
You're
but
rich
you're
enough for
poor
NSFAS.
to go to school.
So even if, if someone earns, I make the example and say 400,000.
Yeah.
You can't get NSFAS. But now let's say you're able to cover 50,000 rands of fees. Because that's the difference between you and an NSFAS student. So we're going to pay the other 170,000. With what you're going to pay it? So there's all these questions that are floating around, and to say, as students, we understand that there's an issue, but it's not going to be our issue, and we're not going to sit down and allow this issue to continue. At least if you want to say that some people must study and others mustn't study, it's fine. We will reverse your decision. We'll say all of us won't study. Universities in the country must all just shut down until government decides that education is important. When they decide education is important, they'll invest in all of us.
Yeah.
You can't say that some can come, some can't come. So that's the stance we took in February, in January, going into this registration period, which is what led to all the protests and what usually leads to all these protests. And I think we must acknowledge that UCT did make some attempts to alleviate pressures for NSFAS students early on. But as I said, there are, NSFAS students with the accommodation cap were an addition to an already existing problem. Because the NSFAS cap came when? Last year, nah? It's a new thing that was introduced. There have been fee block issues every year before that, which means that apart from this NSFAS cohort, there's an issue with fee blocks. And so UCT made provisions for these NSFAS students, but the original issue hasn't been addressed. There are still students who can't register. And so, and unfortunately, every year we are only able to make provisions for the current cohort. So even with us this year, we were able to table a proposal to council, which gladly got approved for students who had historical debts to be allowed to register. So we had to find creative ways of dealing with management and trying to find how we can get students to register despite having debts. But yeah, I think largely we were able to cover a majority of students who weren't able to pay off their historical debts. So there is that issue, but I think it's something that unfortunately, that's why I say unfortunately it's going to continue even after I'm gone, because it's for government to decide that we are going to invest in education.
Yeah.
So until that happens, there'll be strikes, and best believe we'll be there. Whether I'm leadership or not,
Okay.
I will be there to support the students.
Okay, so most of our viewers here are matric students and people who are hoping to be in UCT next year, to be somewhere in Cape Town next year. What advice would you give to them as far as their marks, application process, and all of that?
No, the application process, I think just write your NBTs early on. I think that's the first bit of advice. Write it early so that if you fail it, you rewrite.
Okay.
Fail it and rewrite.
How many can you rewrite NBT?
I believe
That's
you
a
can
national benchmark test?
national benchmark test, yeah.
Okay.
I stand to be corrected, but I believe you can rewrite as many times as you want.
Okay.
I think you can write the test until you pass it well enough.
Okay.
So just make sure that you write it early in
And
case
so
you don't
that
do
you
well.
can do
So
it
you can just
again.
redo it and
Okay.
improve your marks. Other advice, look man, it's competitive. It's something we know is competitive. I think the most important thing, don't choose an institution over a degree. Don't go to UCT. Okay, I won't name a degree because I'm ranking degrees. But don't go to UCT and study something you don't want in the name of being at UCT.
Okay.
Now I can't name a university either. Ne? I must be politically correct here. But point is, go to a university that's going to give you an offer for the degree you want. Don't go to a university because it has a good name. If SAQA accredits their degrees, go and study what you're offered if that's what you wanted. Don't go do something that you don't want just because it's at a better institution.
Okay.
So I think that's very important. We have people who go to vids and do, someone who in their hearts of hearts wants to do economics. They go to vids and do psychology because that's the offer they got. But at UFS, they got an offer for economics. Like, why don't you go do what you want to do?
So never choose a university over
Don't
the
choose a
degree.
university over a degree.
Beautiful
Look, man,
advice.
if at first the university you want doesn't give you an offer, go to whatever university, do well, you'll go there for honors. It's
not a train smash.
Yeah. Don't choose an institution over a degree.
Okay, that's beautiful. That's very beautiful. And also, if you're a different person, maybe let's say you are not in student leadership, where would you be?
If I was not a student leadership,
In student leadership.
I'd be on the Dean's merit list.
Dean's merit list. Okay.
No, shame. I think if I was a student leadership, I don't think my life would change much. I think student leadership is just something, because I'm in the space and I see the need for leadership, I volunteer myself to be there. But if I wasn't there, the rest of my life would still be the same. I'd just have more time to focus on my academics, so I'd be a bit more of a student. Otherwise, I don't think much would change.
I feel like you don't see yourself doing anything else besides being a student leadership.
No, it's a phase, man. It's a phase. In 31st of October, it comes to an end. And God willing, next year I'm in honors and I'm able to just be a student.
Ne?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I miss it, man.
You're tired of being a leader.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned president, church. What's going on there?
Yeah, so I'm also part of a society, Grace Bible Church, which is the church that I belong to.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been serving a church since I was 10 years old in the church band from Grace Bible Church Midrand. Moved to Grace Bible Church Linden in about 2018, I think. And then now, of course, here at Grace Bible Church at the Cape Town Cathedral, as well as at UCT. So at UCT, we exist as a society because, all external structures have to have some sort of way of existing on campus. So they exist as societies. So currently, I'm the deputy chairperson. Last year, I was chairperson. And so, I largely with that role is to just try and create an environment where, students are able to gather and grow in their faith. So we operate as a church in that on Sundays we have services on campus. But outside of those Sunday services and outside of Cell, which we have on Wednesdays, give us that responsibility of creating a space where students are able to gather and grow and feel and have a community.
Okay.
Because I was lucky enough to have the community at Res, although it wasn't the best of communities. I think if a student comes to UCT today, they must be able to find a home in the people at Grace Bible Church UCT. So that's what we try to achieve. I think it's part of the improvements of the culture goal, but at a smaller scale, in the spaces that you find yourselves. So that's.
Okay, so let's speak academics, religion, student leadership, especially political student leadership.
Sure.
Don't they clash? Sometimes maybe your beliefs clashing with politics.
No.
They don't.
The statements are very tempting to make, but take it with a pinch of salt.
Okay.
I mean, I say God is a socialist, man.
Okay.
God preaches a story of taking care of one another.
Okay.
And I think it's love your neighbor as you love thyself. For me, that's a socialist view of life. That's a socialist teaching. To say, you matter as much as I do. So for me, the politics and my religion coincide. I don't see any.
So they don't clash in any way.
I don't see any clashes.
That's very beautiful. I've never heard that version of things
it's
anymore.
With a pinch of salt. I was in Harmony, it's Nkulunkulu is socialist. But that's just how I like to think of it. It's a different take.
Yeah. It's a different. I've never thought of it that way, that God is a socialist. I'll look into it. I'm not saying I'll take it, but I'll look into it. Yeah. And that's a very beautiful view. Okay, so is there something else that maybe you would continue to advise the matric of 2025?
Look, do your best. It's very competitive. It's, as I said, we've seen people who have 9 distinctions applying for medicine and they don't get in. Don't let it hurt you too much. I think don't make your academics your personality. You're a lot more than what you're studying. You're a lot more than what than what your grades say about you. And I think another thing is when you are in varsity, not to say that everyone's going to do badly at some point, because that's not entirely true for everyone.
Yeah.
Some people excel throughout. But be at peace. Be prepared for the worst. Don't be the person who gets thrown into...
I mean, it's a culture shock. You've been passing very well. I mean, you've made it to UCT. You've been passing very well throughout your high school life, and all of a sudden you fail your first test. All of a sudden you do this. So it's quite a culture shock. So you are saying that they should be prepared for that?
Expect it to happen. If it doesn't happen, thank God.
Okay.
Be grateful that it didn't happen. But be prepared and sort of expect it to happen.
Okay.
That's honestly my advice. Some may disagree and say, no, you're the exception. But I think having witnessed so much, we all think we're the exception, eh? We all think we're the exception, and really we're not.
Okay, so let's talk something else. You said you're doing Bcom. What can you do with your degree?
Yeah, so my degree, so there's two components to it, economics and statistics. So depending on what you're going to in postgrad, I think largely these days you can't get away with not doing at least an honors. So depending on whether you're going, what honors you go into, but if you go the economics route, of course there's work as an economist in different organizations, be it banks, be it consulting firms. There's a lot of opportunities to work as an economist. If you go into consulting and work more in business analyst roles, you could go into research, of course, into academia. But I think what I'm more interested in is going more the stats route. And I want to be a quantitative analyst. So a quantitative analyst.
What does that person do?
So quant analysts really focus on applying statistical tools to solving, financial problems. Largely working in risk management.
Okay.
At least that's what I want to go into. There's also quants working in asset pricing, which is more so financial engineering. But I want to go into just quantitative risk management and be a quant analyst at a bank. So that's one of the options that you have when you come from a stats or maths background, or to be honest, even engineering backgrounds. But so those are some of the possibilities. Of course, being a data scientist, being a data analyst. And once again, academia, even in statistics. I think those are the few career options that pop up in my head immediately.
So you are majoring in economics
And statistics. Yeah.
That all?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about a typical life of a day-to-day normal UCT student. You're not very normal, so I don't know.
I was about to say, I wouldn't know. But no, I think it depends. UCT students really do vary. But I think, what I'd imagine, when I tried to be as normal as possible was when my day looked like this. I'd wake up in the morning, spend about an hour in prayer, go for a jog, come back, shower, go to breakfast. So those days I'd wake up at about 4:30, 5.
Oh, okay.
Spend an hour in prayer, go for a jog at about 6, come back, shower, go to breakfast, go to class, right? After classes, go to a sport or whatever extramural you might participate in. At the time I played rugby. This was in the first 2-3 years. I played rugby, and so I'd spend my afternoon on the field at training. After that, to go to res, have supper, shower, everything. Then
you said nothing about going to class.
No. You go to classes between. I get to after breakfast, you go to class.
Oh, okay.
So this is about from 8 a.m., 9 a.m. till about, let's say, 4.
Okay.
So when I say go to class, you go to lectures, you go to TATs.
Because you spoke about spending your afternoon at the field.
No,
I was like, okay, when does this person go to class?
I think I mentioned class in passing. It's you just go to but you go to classes during the day, largely from 8 till about 4.
Oh yeah.
When you don't have classes, you're probably in the library studying or doing TATs or whatever. Afternoon doing whatever sports or recreational activity. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Then in the evenings, that's when you really lock in again
and study
and do a lot of schoolwork. So I think that would be more ideal UCT students.
Typical UCT student, no leadership, just a student.
Yeah, largely that's what students' days look like.
Okay. Yeah. That was a beautiful conversation with you. I've learned a lot about being on the other side in the mountains. It was a very beautiful conversation. We thank you again for honoring the invite.
An honor to be here.
Yeah, and hopefully you come visit us after you've graduated, that you tell us what you do now.
Okay, sure. Definitely.
Yeah, and that's it from us. This was Edu-Knowledge Podcast. Remember to hit your notification buttons so that you can know when the episode is coming. And then you subscribe to the channel and like this video. Till next time.